Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Boxing Authorities. Joining me, as always, Luther Dupree Jr., Smoking Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. Well, a fight that we were all looking forward to. The world was anticipating this. It was a big fight, heavyweight trilogy. Fury, Wilder 3, unfortunately, was postponed due to Tyson Fury's camp. I guess they had a COVID outbreak. There's been different speculations. He didn't look good in sparring. One promoter said that the ticket sales weren't very good. I know Luther doesn't believe too many of them, but
Nope.
What do you think, Luther? What are your thoughts on it?
Listen, we are witnessing one of the greatest duck moves of all time. All right? Now, I have some video I want to run of Tyson Fury. Listen, he says he has COVID-19. I think it's coward-19. COVID-19 is very serious, and for Tyson Fury to be out here playing around like he has COVID-19, but there's all these reports of him buying exotic cars in Las Vegas. He's at a casino in Las Vegas. I think it's unacceptable for him to do that. First, he went to court, so he didn't have to fight. Now he says he has COVID. This is unacceptable, Claudio. I've never seen anything like this. Tyson Fury, you need to get it together, get in the ring, and face this man for the third match. I think he's really scared. I think he's scared of getting knocked out. He's been knocked out cold. He's been knocked out cold.
Punches. He fought the
anybody
best
can have
Wilder.
anybody can have. No, he didn't fight the best Wilder the second fight. You look at that fight.
Because he
wasn't
right the first fight.
Listen, the point is, there's a reason he's ducking. You can ride him all you want, like this old media narrative that you're trying to push, Claudio. You're wrong. The proof is in the pudding.
Right.
He went to court not to fight him. Now he's faking that he has COVID.
There was more
but
money
where's the test?
Joshua.
Nobody else has it. Joseph Parker was in his camp. He was at the UFC event. Tyson Fury was training with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor fought. That whole camp didn't get shut down. There's something fishy going on. I told you he didn't want to fight Wilder a third time because he knows he's getting knocked out,
there's
Claudio.
More money somewhere else.
There is no money. He either fights Wilder or he retires. If you understand the court ruling, he fights, because it was agreed upon. All right? So everybody pushing this false narrative needs to wake up. Fury doesn't want to fight this guy. Fury, get in the ring. You're holding up the whole heavyweight division.
I think
make the fight.
That maybe, just maybe, I don't think he's afraid of him after what he did.
Well,
really,
I've never seen anybody do all this.
I think maybe if it's not an actual COVID situation, maybe he didn't do well in sparring. Maybe he's a little bit out of shape. Maybe he needs a little bit more time. Smoking Jim, your thoughts on it?
Maybe.
Well, it's not the first time. Listen, it's time for Wilder to prove to be professional. He's been very unprofessional his whole career. After last fight, he came out with a lot of different excuses. Hey, listen, this is going to really test the legacy of Wilder. Number one, I think it's going to show that he's hurt not having Mark Breland. An experienced trainer right now will know how to gear your training back and then gear it up so that you can peak when it's time, for the fight to be scheduled. A lot of fighters, you got this new trainer. Now, he really doesn't, he's never had a long experience working with Wilder. I think it's going to hurt Wilder.
Been in the camp.
And don't forget, Cassius Clay's first trainer was Archie Moore. Cassius Clay never would have been a great fighter under Archie Moore. You needed an Angelo Dundee to come in, and he was a perfect fit for a person like that. I think Mark Breland was perfect for Wilder, except for Wilder stopped listening to Mark Breland.
No, listen, you said two different things.
No, I said everything. Right.
No, you said he needed a different trainer to come in and help him go to the next level.
No, I never said that.
You said he needed Archie Moore to go out and Angelo Dundee to come in and help him get to the next level.
No, that's Cassius Clay I was talking about, not Wilder.
Listen,
that's two different people.
Listen, you said somebody else had to come in and help him go to the next level. Why can't that be Malik Scott for Deontay Wilder? You don't know. You have to see it happen. I'm not going to trash him. I think Malik Scott is doing the right thing. I like the video I've seen.
I know he got a glass chin, Malik Scott. I know that.
Listen, how many trainers were
he
great
give
pros?
Him that.
How many
he can borrow that from him.
How many trainers were great pros? Freddie Rhodes. How many championships did he win?
Archie Moore.
Okay, you named one. But
Archie
you said Ali had to get rid of him.
Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. We go on and
Listen,
on.
but you can learn more that weren't champions. Am I right?
No question.
Okay.
But I'm
End
going to
of
say
story.
this. Now, you talked about Tyson Fury and all his excuses. Nobody had more excuses than Deontay Wilder. Breland put something in the drink. The referee was he had his issue.
The referee
costume.
finally took something.
It was all kind of things. It was all kind of excuses.
And of course you're feeding into
And then
the
he
narrative.
said there was some other issues.
The
which he
media
didn't-
wants to make him
No,
look as
he
bad
said
as
it.
possible.
He said it. Came out
The
of the horse's
media
mouth.
wants to make him look bad as
He
possible.
said it,
That's
though.
what's happening.
Wait a minute. Did the
Listen,
media say Breland or the costume or the
Listen,
the
but
referee?
you didn't hear the whole interview. That interview was
Well,
cut
he
up
said
to
it,
make
though.
him look bad.
Then what did he say? Then
Listen,
why did
that
he mention
interview
it
was
at
cut
all?
up.
Why did he
They were
mention it at all?
talking, what happened? Oh, my legs were going. Well, why are
Yeah.
your legs going? It's a question. If somebody asks you a question,
But,
you can give
okay,
an
let's
answer.
just say
Well,
Breland.
we'll see if Fury ever gets in for the third fight. Stop holding up the division and let's get this third fight
Well, it's not
on.
holding up the division.
It is
because
holding
there's
it up.
only-
It
there's
is
only
holding it
3 or
up.
4
It
guys.
should have happened. It should have
Yeah,
been a
but it's not
unification
holding
by
anything
now.
up.
He should have fought him.
But
He shouldn't have gone to court for
the
7
main-
months
look.
and then done this. It is holding up the division, and it's unacceptable for Fury to do that.
The only 3 guys that are going to draw, there's only 3 guys. Ruiz is nice. Dillian Jones is nice. White's nice. That's great.
Dillian White, you think he's nice?
Well, I mean, he's there, okay? But I'm saying the guys who are going to draw the most money, there's only 3 guys. Joshua, Fury, Wilder. That's it. So nobody's holding anything up.
If we don't have a unification, this has been since 2018 we haven't had a
They'll
unification.
stretch it out. Jim brought up a good point last show when he talked about the Foreman Ali fight was postponed due to a cut. Cooney Holmes was postponed back in 1982 because Cooney had a rotator cuff. It didn't hurt anything. They end up fighting.
Legitimate reasons.
Also,
right?
back in World War II, it was held up for 3 years. There was
you
no
go.
fighting for 3 years, and boxing
A
was
world
fine and
war,
well.
right.
The boxing was fine and well after that.
Well, who do you guys think this will hurt and benefit this postponement? Who will it hurt? Who will it benefit? Luther.
Well, I think Wilder was ready for this third fight. I like what he was doing.
He ain't
It's
gonna
obvious that Fury wasn't right. You know, he keeps pulling out and pulling out. Maybe this will give him more of a chance to gain some confidence and try to get back what he had before. But, you know, it's just disappointing that this fight is
no question.
happening and,
The
and
doctor
he's
of
out.
spin is in.
Hey, listen.
Are you going to answer the question?
I think it helps Wilder. You know, he gets more time with his trainer,
You think.
and he's ready. Of course, until you see him in the ring with a new trainer, you don't know.
Well, what about
you know,
this?
something
Jim
you
made a
don't
great
do, Jim.
point.
Think.
Jim made a great point about peaking. Wilder, let's just say for the sake of arguing, he peaked and he was ready. He's getting ready to peak. He's ready for the fight here in a couple next week. And Fury wasn't ready. Fury now has time to get ready, or maybe Wilder will be on the way down. Smoking Jim, what do you think?
Well, the piggyback on Dr. Spin. hey, listen, it helps a guy who's professional. You know, Muhammad Ali was professional. You know, Joe Louis, they were professional. Hey, listen, Rocky Marciano, they were professional. Listen, the professional guy is Tyson Fury. He's going to take advantage of this extra time. Wilder has a history. Listen, he was peaking for this fight. He was ready for this fight. He reminds me of George Foreman when they were in Zaire. When George Foreman got away from Zaire, he could never get back to that, mentality of training and peak form. I think it hurts Wilder. His age hurts him. He got a new trainer that has no idea how to deal with his body and his mentality. So I think it hurts Wilder, and he'll be punished for it.
All right, listen, as far as professionalism, Fury has a history of pulling out of rematches. He was supposed to fight Vladimir Klitschko, and what happened? Something happened. He never got that rematch. Another time, with Wilder, the first time they were supposed to fight immediately. No, he took 2 more fights. And now this third, they're supposed to have another fight, and now this happens. It's a pattern.
This is not professional. You sure know a lot about Fury.
Listen, I'm following his career, Jim. Unlike you, instead of following these false narratives, I followed his career. These are all facts. Fury, get in the ring. Stop holding up this division. Stop making excuses. You talk about Wilder. What is happening now? Court dates. Now this COVID, it's not COVID-19. That's a serious matter. This is coward-19.
Jim,
that Fury is
Wilder loses this fight, the excuses are really going to be rolling in after this one.
Listen, it's a fight.
Really
you win some, you lose some, Claudio.
I'm going to have to tune in to BET to get all the excuses.
Well, one thing, though, what do you guys think about, a couple things. Dillian White said he could step in. Andy Ruiz said they could step in. I don't think Wilder would do that, but I would like to see this card continue because it's a good card. F.A. Ajagba against Frank Sanchez is a good fight. Real Big Baby Anderson against Vladimir Turchkin is a good fight. And the main event could very well be Robert the Nordic Nightmare Helenius against Adam Babyface Kaunaki for a rematch. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put it on pay-per-view. I'd put it on network TV to boost boxing. But I think those are three good fights. And then you can add some other heavyweights. What do you think about keeping the card?
It would be great. It's not going to happen, but it's a great card. I like all those guys.
Now, that, not to interrupt you, that is holding up the division. You're exactly right on that part of it.
The whole thing.
These
So
three
you
sets
proved my
of guys.
point. Thank you, Claudio.
Not the entire division, but these three sets of guys were ready to fight, and now they're up in the air. Are they going to fight? Are they not going to fight? Are they going to be pushed back to October?
I think they're going to be
you're
pushed
right
back.
about that.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I've been right about everything, Claudio and Jim. It's holding up the division. These fights can make it to the next step. F.A. Ajagba is trying to get into the championship fights. Big Baby Anderson is fighting. You know, listen, these guys have to fight. The heavyweight division's been stalled. It looked like it was catching fire, and now with all this court stuff and the fake and the excuses that Fury's doing, it's holding up the division. It needs to get moving.
I understand your point on that
I'm very
part.
disappointed in this fight because I thought revenge was coming, and I think Fury knew it too, and that's why he pulled out. I'm starting to question if Fury is even going to fight him. I don't know if it's going to happen in October. The moves that he's making. I remember Fury said he would never fight Wilder again, and the way he's moving, it looks like that may be true.
I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah, he said that.
I don't remember hearing that.
Jim, what are your thoughts about continuing with the card anyway?
Well, I would love that. You know, first of all, Wilder's not going to fight anybody else. He hadn't fought anybody in 2 years.
Plus, it'd be dangerous.
Yeah, he's in for. Listen, I really believe that Wilder's trying to cash out so that he can retire. He wants that big money fight so he can walk away from boxing.
He could have got step aside money. He wants his revenge.
No.
He could have got step aside money. You're making
Fury
this up.
refused to pay the step aside money.
That's not true.
He said he only pays in butt whoopings.
And Fury also said the day before the ruling came out, he was fighting Anthony Joshua. He made a post on Sunday and said, "I just spoke to Prince Hakeem, and we're going to be fighting, overseas." And the next day, it was ruled that Wilder Fury 3 was going to take place.
I think the heavyweight division is alive and well. Everybody's fighting in the heavyweight division, but Wilder. He had the opportunity to fight in the last 2 years. Wilder didn't fight nobody in the last 2 years.
Luis Ortiz would prove you wrong. A guy that's still being ducked. Luis Ortiz, one of the top heavyweights. Only one who would fight him was Wilder.
How old is he?
It doesn't matter how. Is he one of the best?
I mean, I'm saying,
is he one of? Who
I
knows? I don't know, and you don't know.
When he was on steroids, he was great. When he was on steroids, he's great. You know what? I love going to the Key West in Florida so I can look out on that island and see Cuba. See who's swimming here.
Well, on that note, again, I'd like to see the card go, but I agree with Luther. I don't think it's going to happen. And Wilder's definitely not going to take. He's not going to fight Ruiz or anybody else because if he does lose, then all bets are off. So I guess we're going to have to wait. They talked about a rumor sometime in October. Wow. Hopefully it happens because it's a fight that definitely needs to happen, and we can put an end to this. You know what? How about if Wilder wins? Will they have a 4?
Yes. Why would they?
Yes.
I think this knockout will be so dramatic if Wilder wins.
I think Fury gets him, but
you'll be wrong again. But
on that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the great event that WBC had in White Collar Boxing Promotion on July 10th, Mexicano Power. Right back to talk about that on the Boxing Authorities. July 10th, the WBC and White Collar Boxing had a great event called Mexicano Power. And the main event was Diaz against Andrade. But, you know, the thing that stuck out to me, guys, was everybody was, everybody had 1-0, 3-0. There wasn't a whole lot of experience on this card, but I got to tell you, number one, I was impressed with the trainers because these guys were fighting. They were punching different angles. They were moving well. They were all in shape. They were all competitive fights. There were no blowouts. It was very enjoyable. If you're a boxing fan, you may not have known the names. And to be very honest with you, I didn't know the names, but I really enjoyed the fights because these guys went at it. there was no holding, there was no anything. They just went at it. And just to go over a few fights, Omar Castillo against Brian Mora, it was a draw. They look like veterans. I was taking notes during the fight, obviously. They look like veterans. They were accurate with their punches. Now, there's a few things, like Mora needs to maybe shorten up with his punches. Yeah. But other than that, they were in great shape and they were accurate with their punches, as I keep saying. And they were both crowd pleasers, both Lacerva and then Lacerva versus Aviles. Aviles can hit. That guy's on his way up. I mean, he can flat out punch. No wasted energy, no wasted motion. Straight jab, power in all of his punches. Again, a little wide on his punches, but that can be fixed by some good trainers. Lacerva had great footwork, like the way he bounced. Being a professional baseball scout, and again, Jim being a professional football scout, we look at feet, okay? Where Luther looks at videos and see if somebody's buying a car, okay? But we're looking at feet, athleticism, and another thing.
The times, Claudio.
And another thing that all three of us talk about is the lack of what? Body punches and uppercuts.
Lost start.
And lost start. But these guys were doing good body punches and uppercuts. Gustavo Pena against Ricardo Garcia. Pena won, and he dominated the fight, but Garcia was game. He did not back down. He kept coming, which made for an entertaining fight. And as I said, Gustavo Pena won unanimous decision. And then Paredes against Torales. I thought Torales was ahead in the fight, and then Torales made a big comeback and with a TKO in the fourth round. And I didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming. The main event was again, and we talked about this main event a lot, mainly about the records, but Fernando Diaz against Mario Andrade. Diaz was 9-1-1 with 2 knockouts, whereas Andrade was 16-11-7. And my question to both guys, Luther and Jim, was, will the experience make a difference? And I think we all agreed that it did, because obviously Andrade, with that many fights and that many draws, and he went the distance, many fights, he was a good tactician, good mechanics, and he was good upstairs. He knew how to fight. He was a professional fighter. Right. And Diaz probably came in with a lot of fanfare, 9-1-1, not a bad record. And he looked good. Both of them looked good. I had Andrade winning the fight. Diaz had some moments. Diaz won the fight. But, Jim, let me ask you this. With a guy like a record with 16-11-7 KOs, this isn't a knock towards anybody with that kind of a record, because he's in the ring, got to give him respect and credit. But I'm sure he was looked at as being an opponent. But now, after looking so good, and in my opinion, winning the fight, does that help him or hurt him for another fight?
Well, one thing, usually when you get a record like that, I don't know how it is in Mexico, but I know in the States, here in Pittsburgh, we had a world champion named Rayco War Saunders.
Right.
And a lot of his losses came in the other guy's hometown.
Right.
And he got fights on short notice.
Right.
So that's where a lot of his knockouts, but what you want to look for is a guy that goes the distance, like you said. A lot of guys that have a record like that, they get knocked out. Right. They got a glass chin. So somebody like that, not only is he experienced, but when he can prepare for a fight, he can be very dangerous opponent, as you've seen.
Luther, when you see a guy with that kind of record, let's say you're Diaz and you're fighting Andrade with that kind of a record, what does that do to you mentally? Do you say, oh man, I'm going to walk through him, he's just going to be an opponent? What do you
Listen,
what do you
in
think?
talking to boxers, sometimes people get seen, oh, he's a journeyman. I should run through this guy, 16-11. But you have to actually study his record. Like you said, he could have gone in a lot of different places and not gotten the decision, but he really won. You thought he won the fight.
Yeah.
And he didn't get the decision because he's looked at as a journeyman. So if it's close, you're going to give the nod to the younger guy with a better record who you think have a better future. So definitely, it's unfortunate. These guys, you got to watch how you move, because a couple losses could put you in that journeyman category, and I think that's where he is, and that's why he didn't get that victory.
Now, me and Luther agree a lot.
Only when you're right, Jim.
Only when he's right. Now, Diaz did win. I mean, he got the decision.
Right.
But do you think that it benefits him that he was that close to losing? Hey, I can't take anybody for granted.
Yeah, I mean, that's experience. You fought a tough competitor. It was close, but you pulled it out. So you have to take it up to the next level when you step up in competition. You might not be fighting a guy at 16-11. It may be a guy who's 20-3.
Right.
So you have to take it up to the next level. And I think Diaz, like you said, he's improving an up-and-comer. So, yeah, I think he can definitely improve on this.
You know what, though, guys? All the years I've been watching boxing, as far as I remember, I never once remember saying that the entire card, I give so much credit to the trainers.
Yeah,
Because again, these guys were throwing from different angles. They were moving well. They were all in shape. They were pressing the fights. And we talk about it all the time. The lack of, and Luther had said it well about the lost art of uppercut, lost art of body shots.
punching.
And these guys were doing it. And none of these guys, none of them looked like their record. And by that I mean this guy's 1-0, 3-0, 2-0. Very entertaining card. And I really enjoyed it. But one thing that kept coming to mind, and I thought of Jim especially, there were a couple draws, 4-round draws. But let me ask you guys a question. And I just kept thinking of Jim, and I thought about you, obviously, Luther, as well. What are your opinions on this? I would like to eliminate draws if there was a 4-round fight or an 8-round fight, not a 10-round or a 12-round, but a 4-round fight or an 8-round fight. Do you guys think that it would be good to have something in quotes, a box off, have one more round? I think the fans would like it. I think they'd be on their feet. I think both fighters would turn it up. Obviously, there's a safety reason, perhaps, but one more round. This way, there wouldn't be a. Now, if all the judges say it's a 10-10 round, then it's a draw, fine. But like with Andrade having 7 draws, he probably had a lot of 4-round fights. And with a 4-round fight, it's easy for a guy to win 2 rounds.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Then does it really does it help your career? I would say not. What do you think about having a box off for 4-rounders and 8-rounders?
You know what? I don't like it. I like draws. Because it's subjective. Sometimes you have a guy, and when you have a 4-rounder and 8-rounder, it can very easily be this guy wins 2, this guy wins 2. I don't like it. It's not baseball, Claudia. You're putting your baseball in extra inning and all that. No,
Yeah, extra innings.
draw. If it's even, they can come back and fight again. If it's not Wilder and Fury, who knows if they'll fight again. But I like the draw because sometimes the guys are just matched up. They matched up evenly, and you just bring them back, and they do it again. Sometimes it's okay not to have a winner and a loser.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with it at all.
All right, Jim?
And I got to agree with Luther. Being a boxing historian, I love, guys that earn a draw.
I'm surprised. I thought you were going to say.
No, I don't think it's bad for the sport at all. I didn't like when the NFL went to overtime in regular season games. I grew up when they played when the tie meant something. A tie was very important on your record in the National Football League at one time. And I have no problems with the draw. I didn't have a problem with even a championship fight like Wilder and Fury that fought to a draw.
How about if they just went to 5 rounds, odd rounds, 5 and 7 as opposed to 4 and 8? Because again, a draw, what does it do? Okay, the Wilder Fury, okay, that was a draw. You get a rematch. I get that. But for guys who are starting up, a draw, what does it do for your career? It almost stalls you. I mean, you're probably not going to fight that guy again, and you have that, I don't want to say it's a blemish, but you have that mark on your record that it was a draw. What do you think, Luther, about having a 5-round or not? You don't want to go 9, 7 round.
That's a possibility, but guys who are doing 4-rounders are just starting out. You don't know about their wind, their conditioning, their stamina. Guys can really get hurt. I don't mind it. It's been
3
that way
rounds?
for years. I think 3 is too short.
Okay.
4, I think, is a perfect number.
Okay.
You have to get in there. You can duke it out. But I just think going a little more. If you're fighting 4-rounders, you're just starting out. Your experience isn't there. I'm okay with a 4-rounder.
And again, I think the fans don't like it. I don't think the fans like to see a draw.
You
Unless
got to get out there and win 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, it puts a sense of urgency in you.
True, it does. What do you think about having a 5-round or a 7-round?
Well, I'm a traditionalist, so, I like to keep things the way they are.
Okay.
But I would love for boxing to go back to a 15-round championship fight. I would love to see that.
See, that's why I thought that you were going to agree with me and have them go one extra round, like Luther said about the extra
15,
inning.
that's just...
The 15,
That's too much. That's too much. There was a reason it was cut back to 12.
Yeah, I'm okay with it not being 15. And matter of fact, an advocate for the 15-round fights is one of the guys who, it wasn't because of him in that event, but it sure kind of pushed it, was Ray Boom Boom Mancini when he fought Dooku Kim. That's when they start cutting it back to 12 rounds. And he's an advocate of the 15-round fights. He said, because those last 3 rounds, man, Those are the championship rounds. That's what separates everybody.
Well, Sugar Ray Robinson killed a man in the ring, and it was well shorter than the 15 rounds.
Well, obviously
You know
anything
what I
can
mean?
happen.
You
Yeah.
can go at any round.
But,
you can die any round.
I'm good with the 12 rounds because 3 rounds, there's a lot of things that
Yeah,
can happen in
yeah.
3 rounds.
Like what? You be.
I mean, the
Well,
stamina
like what?
issues.
Like what?
You know, these
Well,
guys are
not only stamina.
and especially now these guys are cutting so much weight.
Huh?
You know, you have guys that are walking around 180, fighting at 140.
Whose fault is
These
that?
guys, I'm just saying. You know, that's a big issue. These guys are cutting so much weight. The dehydration, you don't get enough water in your system.
Oh, thanks,
That's
Dr.
dangerous.
Dupree.
That's dangerous.
Well,
Listen,
there's been some guys.
there's a lot of guys suffering from CTE.
How about fight your true weight? That's all. How about fight your true weight?
That's
you
a
don't gotta be
possibility,
if you're
too.
if you're a natural 190, you don't have to be. You don't have
But
no
it's been
business
that way
fight
for years.
weight. No,
It's
since
been
when?
that way- it's been-
Since
it's been
when?
that way for years,
When
Jim.
they used
This
to
is not
weigh.
something new that
No,
just
no.
started in
Here's when it happened. You used to have to fight. Weigh in
Weigh
the
in,
day of
right,
the fight.
right.
Go back to that,
Yes.
and you'll stop all that.
I'm with
you.
Being
You'll start
190
seeing more.
coming down,
You'll
and then
start-
fight night, you're back to 180.
Well, I remember one time Arturo Gatti fought a guy named, I believe it was Joey Gamache, I'm pretty sure. And
Two Italians.
2 Italians. They want to see us fight each other. but the thing is, I think I won it. I could be wrong, but it was almost like a 20-pound weight
Oh yeah.
difference the
Oh,
next
easy.
day.
That's what Luther,
I mean,
Dr. Dupree was talking.
Hey, that Javante Davis, Mario Barrios fight,
Yeah.
that was a big weight difference as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I mean,
It
yeah,
looked-
Barrios really
I'm
rehydrated.
telling you.
It looked like it was about 160
Now,
pounds.
now, would you guys like the 15 rounds if they went back to weighing in the night of the fight and fighting that same
I don't
night?
like the 15 rounds
No,
at all.
I don't like the
Oh,
15
come
rounds.
on. What are you
It's
talking
too
about?
many. It's
Huh?
too many.
Jim, I'll tell you real quick, I was
You got a
listening.
tender heart? You got a tender
I'll tell you
Well,
what.
you got
We
tender
got,
hearts
we
around
got a
here.
lot of tragedies lately.
Yes.
What's wrong
And
with
there
that?
was a fight with Porter against one of Luther's favorites, Paulie Malignaggi, when they
Oh,
fought several
boy.
years ago. And he had
Porter fought Malignaggi?
Yeah, he had
Two
a-
club fighters.
Well, but whatever. But the
Paulie-
thing is, I
Paulie's
like
a club
Porter.
fighter?
Neither one are club fighters.
You got to have more power than Paulie and Porter to be a club fighters.
but Malignaggi had a brain bleed.
Yeah.
One more punt, and it didn't leak. Okay, what do they call it? What was the proper term? Hemo something.
Right.
But it didn't leak. Okay, one more punch, it could have leaked.
Right.
If it would have gone another round, Joe Macy years ago, he
Right.
fought a Russian guy. I forgot. Joe was winning the entire fight. And then the guy, the Russian, hit him in the back of the head,
Yeah.
and then Joe's career was pretty much finished after that. But and he was lucky that the fight was coming to an end, because if it was another 2 more rounds, because he was a little bit shaky then.
Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened?
Well, years
so I'm
ago,
good with it. I'm good
years
with it,
ago,
12
you had a
rounds.
lot of immigrants that boxed, and they were willing to die in the ring. Maybe we should go back to
Yeah,
that.
but it'll
No,
hurt the sport.
Nobody
it'll hurt
wants
the
to see.
sport.
Come on, Jim.
They
Not
were willing to
everybody's-
die. They
not-
didn't die,
not
but they were
everybody-
willing to
Not
die.
everybody's bloodthirsty like you.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't want 15
No.
rounders and you got to worry about something. No, 12 rounds is good.
That's enough. Yeah.
That's enough. We don't need any more.
Right. Now, an event that's coming up soon is the February 20th. February. I'm thinking February. I'm a little bit behind. What is this? July 23rd. And we're looking forward to that. Again, a lot of good fighters on that, but the guys who are getting the most attention because of their dad and everybody's interested are the Vargas kids. So definitely tune into that. Real quick again, Jim, your thoughts on the Vargas kids. How much pressure is it to, do you think they're trying to live up to their dad, or are they just saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to do my thing? What would you?
Well, I
Think
tell you
about
what, to grow up and have all the advantages of growing up in a household with a living legend is an advantage. Yeah, there's going to be pressure, but you grew up learning how to box from the best.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And these guys, I don't think they would have turned pro if they didn't think they had some greatness in them. Now it's depending how hungry you are, how hard
Right.
you want to work, how dedicated you are. If you want to run 15 miles a day in army boots like Rocky Marciano did, or if you just want to,
point.
just live off your daddy's name. They definitely got the talent if they're professionals.
Well, Jim makes a good point about being hungry. Obviously, Fernando was a little hungrier because he needed to win, right?
Right,
These
right.
kids probably had a little bit of an easier life. I don't want to say easy, perhaps easier. But not only that, but something else also come to mind when Ken Griffey Jr. used to hang out in the Cincinnati Reds locker room or wherever his dad played, Ken Griffey Sr. So he was used to seeing Bench and Rose and Morgan and all the big dogs. Alex Rodriguez, well, he played with Alex Rodriguez, but again, he was in that atmosphere. And I think that would be a benefit to a young man, the Vargas kids, because they've been around that atmosphere of the big time boxers and the big time boxing events.
Was it advantage for Ken Griffey Jr.'s son to grow up that same way and then choose
football?
football and find out he can't play
Well, that's 'cause
football?
he didn't hang around
He couldn't
baseball
catch a
players.
cold
He
on
was
the
right,
football field.
Luther, what are your thoughts about this?
Listen, I give respect to anybody who steps into the ring.
Right.
And for these guys to follow their dad's footsteps, I think it's pretty remarkable. There's a lot of pressure. You look at Layla Ali following the greatest, Muhammad Ali. You look at Joe Frazier's son. That was a difficult transition for him.
Yeah.
I'm thinking these guys really are dedicated. We said on the last show, I love Fernando Vargas, the way they moved him. He always challenged himself to fight the best. His resume is second to none. Hopefully these guys have the same trajectory and they can reach those same heights and fight the best.
Well, your son wants to be an airplane pilot. You disappointed he didn't follow in your footsteps?
Hey, let him fly the plane.
That's right. There you go.
Fly the planes.
And the main event is Andreas Oliveira Jr. versus Eduardo Ramirez. Again, Oliveira is 20-0 with 5 knockouts. Ramirez is 25-2 with 12 knockouts. So definitely be an exciting fight. We're going to take another quick break, and we come back. We're going to talk about most memorable matches. So we're right back with the Boxing Authorities. Our next segment on the Boxing Authorities is something that we always love to do and talk about most memorable matches that we watched. And I'm going to go first on this one because this one had impact on me for a lot of reasons. February 11th, 1990. It was about a year and a half or so after my mom passed, a little bit less. And I'm watching this guy, Buster Douglas. I knew who James Buster Douglas was, but then they did something which I love that boxing does. NFL Films is great for it. They give you a story.
Right.
And they start talking about his mom, and that was it. He had me hook, line, and sinker. and I remember just praying that he would win this fight for his mom. And we didn't expect that to happen, of course. Nobody did. And I remember a friend of mine, I usually watch the fights with my dad. And this time, it was supposed to be a blowout. So I went to a friend's house, and he kept looking at me. You want something to drink? You want something? I said, don't worry about me. Just let's watch this fight because it might not last long. I've never, in all the boxing matches I've seen, I've never, ever seen a better performance physically, mentally, heart-wise, the total package than I saw that day. And it was very emotional for me to watch that. And it still is. After all these years, it's still, and I still can't believe it's 31 years. That is mind-boggling to me. But with Buster, and they can talk about Tyson and Kevin Rooney not being there and him not being in shape, which he was, and all these excuses, which I know Luther's going to come up with some for Mike Tyson, and he'd have the best corner man. I know that. But I don't care who he had in that corner. Buster Douglas that night was the greatest fighter that I ever saw with my own eyes. I never seen anybody better that night. He could have continued it. He didn't. I know that. I know he didn't do well against Evander and all that kind of stuff. But I'd never seen a man fight like that in my life. That accurate. Those jabs, going back and throwing punches, moving Mike Tyson back. And you got to remember, that time, Mike Tyson was known as what? The baddest man on the planet.
Right.
He intimidated people, just stared them down. Buster didn't give a damn about anybody. Hey, I just lost my mom. That's the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I'm going to win this fight for my mom. And when he did that, to this day, I get a little emotional about it. And I got to tell you one quick story. It may have been the time I met Jim, as a matter of fact. We were in West Virginia. Buster Douglas's brother was fighting. Buster was on the card. So, I'm sorry, Buster was there watching his brother.
Right.
So I see him. And I had to go tell Buster how much impact he had in my life and how important he was that night when he did, and the way he always talked about his mom and all that kind of stuff. So I went up to him. Then I told him I recently lost my dad a couple weeks ago. And somebody in the corner says, Buster, you're on in about 5 minutes live. He said, okay. So Buster's a big man. He had his hand on me, and I'm telling him about my dad. And I start crying. And he said, that's okay to cry. He got me a napkin, which I still have to this day. I still have it. I should bring it on the show. And the TV guy said, Buster, you got 1 minute. And Buster got mad. He said, I'll be there when I'm there. Let me talk to this man. I'll be there when I'm there. And I'll never forget that. He gave me a big hug, and like you couldn't see me, right? Because Buster just did. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. And that meant the world to me. And I know he's not going to go down as whatever. But to me, I love the guy and just think the world of him as a person and as a fighter. Never seen anybody with that kind of boxing ability. And what an event it was. Shocked the world. That shocked the world. Luther.
Oh, definitely. That was shocking. I think we have some clips of Buster and Tyson. Listen, nobody thought Buster Douglas had a chance against Mike Tyson. Tyson was just
Look at
running
that bouncing,
the
Luther.
Yeah, he
Look at that
looked
jab,
great. The jab
Luther.
was good. You know, he
The
looked
uppercuts.
strong.
Look at that. Oh.
I mean, round 2.
Oh.
You know, he looked very strong. You know,
Perfect.
But Tyson
Perfect.
hadn't trained for this
here we
fight.
go.
But Buster,
He's going to blame Mark Leland in
listen.
2 minutes. Mark Breland in 2 minutes.
This is the best version of Buster
Yes.
Douglas in his life.
Yes.
He looked fast. This jab, but he had a lot of advantages. I thought he
Yeah, he
could have
was
been
better.
I thought he could have been a better pro.
Yes.
Good size,
I'm
good
good.
feet, nice jab. He didn't put it together most of his career, but
good
this
with
fight, he put everything together, and Tyson was just couldn't handle it.
And Tyson did knock him down, and Buster got up.
He got up. He showed heart.
Yes, he did.
He showed skill. He showed everything you would want in a heavyweight. It's a shame we didn't see more of this Buster
with you.
Douglas.
I'm with
but
you.
I think if Tyson really took this
I don't
seriously, I think it could have been a better fight. And I don't know if Buster comes out. But Buster was motivated. Like you said, he took a hellacious shot.
Yep, he
that
did.
uppercut, most people don't get up.
No, they
when
don't.
he took that uppercut, ooh,
Perfect.
goodness.
Perfect.
He almost got the elbow in there too.
Perfect.
Like Tyson would get in there.
Right.
And he got up. I knew something was different about him when he got up from that
Yep.
that punch right there. It was
And luckily
tremendous.
for him, it was the end of the round.
Yeah.
I got to say
Yeah.
that. Jim,
Yeah.
your thoughts on the fight?
Well, I remember very, very well. I was dating a girl one time, and she had a little voodoo. She put a little voodoo on me.
Oh, man.
And I remember
Voodoo?
being disappointed because I spent the weekend in Washington, D.C., and I was disappointed that I was going to miss the fight. You know, Washington had 10 girls to every one guy at the time. So I'm partying in Washington, and the voodoo got me so sick that I left Washington and drove all the way back to Pittsburgh in time to see this fight. And as soon as I got on her couch, I started feeling better.
He's telling us a
But,
little bit too much information. What the hell is that going to do with Buster
Were
Douglas?
you dating Dwayne Haskins?
Hey,
wife?
I watched his
Oh,
fight, and I could not believe, you know,
that,
what
just
Buster
gone.
Douglas achieved, seeing Mike Tyson get knocked out. But I think on that night, there's no heavyweight
I
in the
agree.
history of the game. that
I'm with
could
you.
have
He
beat
was
Buster.
so
I
motivated.
agree with you. I
Look
don't
at that
think
ass.
anybody would have ever beaten Buster Douglas that night, and I've never seen a performance like that in my life. But Luther, again, we joke, but I know you're serious about it too. Everybody talks about Larry Holmes' jab, and obviously it was a great jab. But
Greatest
I don't
ever.
know if better than Buster's with that kind of pop.
That was one night. We're
But,
talking
look,
about a career.
I know that. I'm saying, but that one night, the
yeah,
ability
he was
to do
amazing.
it.
That night he was amazing. I mean, the jab, the chin, the heart,
Chin,
everything
everything.
that he showed.
Perfect fighter that
yeah,
night.
Yeah, he was perfect that night.
It
He
was
perfect
it
that night.
disappointing that it didn't continue.
But you can't
Yes.
say it's because he did get knocked. He did get
Okay.
knocked out and got a long count.
Oh,
So
that,
it
Luther
was-
with
it
the long
wasn't-
counts.
It wasn't that
He's good. He
perfect.
does that with Fury. He makes it
He
sound like
got
these
a
guys got
long
a pillow
count. He
and
got
let me
a
take
long
care
count.
of it. The ref goes, "Hey, get up, man. Get up." No, it wasn't that
It
long.
was a long
Look,
count.
as soon as
He
Buster
did-
went down,
he
the
showed
guy on the
heart.
side started going like this. Started counting.
It was a little
you
long.
Can't,
It was
every
a little-
count
it was
is
a little
long.
It was a little long.
Every count
But
is
he got
long.
up. He showed heart. He showed heart.
Every count is long.
You know, but
You know.
when I see a perfect fight, you usually don't get knocked
Well,
knocked
okay.
down
But he did get
with
up.
a vicious uppercut.
But he
So
did-
he showed
he did
heart.
come up. He
We
did
wouldn't have
show
been able to
heart.
see his heart if he didn't get knocked
Right.
out like that. You're
But
right.
I mean, again, the athleticism.
Yeah.
I told you guys in this show before the fight, when they were doing their warm-ups, Buster was hopping up and down. Nothing. Then Tyson. Yeah, so you knew he was an athlete. Now you hope he can, he can take a punch and throw some, right? And what a beautiful fight that was. Then he threw the most vicious. Rocky Marciano was always known for the biggest punch in boxing history when he knocked out Walcott in the 13th round. But when Buster threw a punch at Tyson, and he missed the actual punch, but he went like that, and I think it was in the last round, he caught him in the eye with his elbow. That was like the most violent hit I've ever seen. But that goes to show you with that long reach, he was short and quick. He wasn't long. He was trained beautifully. Again, his father was a great boxer, but Buster wanted it, was in great shape, looked great. Mentally, he was in great shape. And he look, I'm sure you fans know, to go up those 4 steps, man, that takes a lot.
hard.
I mean,
Takes
we've
hard.
all, people say, oh, this guy's a tomato can or this. No. even the guys who aren't that
Anybody
good.
who used to say this, anybody who gets in that ring is a champion just for
Exactly.
stepping in that
Exactly.
ring.
Exactly.
Jim might not say that, but anybody who gets in that ring is a champion.
Exactly.
You know, can't call any of these guys bums.
You want to go to another memorable fight or go to the mailbag?
Oh, no. One more memorable fight.
Go ahead,
Floyd versus Canelo. Listen.
Which I left early.
Listen, I love this fight. Everybody was hyping this Canelo guy up. I said, no, this is Floyd Mayweather. Can we run those clips? He just schooled him and just styled on him.
He did.
Listen, Canelo was trying to come in there. Floyd was moving his head and was just schooling him with a nice jab and a check right hook. It was just amazing how Floyd was out there just dominating him. Look at this.
I think he could do it again.
At this age, I don't know.
Luther, I'm telling
We
you,
saw that
I'm
Logan
not saying
Paul
anything
fight. I'm not
against
sure.
Mayweather. He did.
But look at this. I mean, Canelo couldn't get off. He was confused.
But look how he
couldn't
backs
get
up.
anything.
Look how Mayweather backs up nice.
Greatest defensive fighter ever. He didn't have.
And we're not. You and I were never huge fans.
Right.
But we got to give him credit.
We got to give him respect.
Look at his record. Who he fought. We'll get to him another time on
Can't
Legends.
even touch him. Look at this.
But against Canelo, I'm telling you,
and
Jim, that's your boy.
Against a guy who outweighed him. You know, this guy's fighting light heavyweight now.
Yep. Jim, what do you think about this fight?
No comment.
And then, Jim loves Canelo. And Luther and I, we were never.
And after this fight, Canelo said he wasn't going to fight any more slick boxers.
He hasn't.
This is the fight where Canelo said, "I'm not fighting anybody who
and I
moves
give
a
him
lot."
credit. He was right because
was
Mayweather
right.
just. And all honesty, and I joke. I was at the fight not at the fight, but Jim and I saw it together, and I said, "This is boring," because Mayweather made him look bad.
Yeah, and nobody does that, Canelo.
Nobody.
Canelo, I'm not a fan of either guy, but,
Right.
Floyd with
Watch
his
this.
ring
Look at that. Look at
IQ, just perfect, man.
But if you notice, he just went like a Spence, just barely goes back, just misses it, and then he lands a good
that
punch.
right.
It was
Yeah.
beautiful to watch. I probably shouldn't have left early, but again, it was just boring, and because it was built up to be this huge fight.
Floyd's fights
It was
are
a
never
blowout.
boring. He's just so.
It was a
just-
blowout.
Listen, when he styles on these guys, he's just so amazing.
And
man.
he didn't
Nobody
waste any
does that.
energy. Am I right or wrong? He just
right.
little shift. Jim,
Guys are throwing
I know
with their whole body.
Well,
just
can I
moves
get
a
my
little
most
bit.
memorable fight?
Go ahead.
Nobody cares about that fight.
Okay.
My most
Hall of
memorable,
Famers.
my most memorable fight was a kid that I've been watching since he was 12 years
here we
old. Michael Moore, one of the greatest fighters,
Oh, boy.
three-time world champion, light heavyweight, two-time world heavyweight champion. Most memorable fight got to be against David Tua. It was only 30 seconds, but people don't realize David Tua never was heavyweight champion of the world, but he knocked Michael Moore out in 30 seconds, and he knocked out John Ruiz out in 19 seconds. So that was the most memorable fight, that I think everybody would enjoy, even though it's under a minute and two fights.
All right. Yeah, that wouldn't be a great fight to watch. We have a few minutes left. We're going to go to our mailbag. Anyway, and we love the mailbag section for sure. Jim, Ernest from Toledo, Ohio. You always talk about Cassius Clay and Muhammad Ali, Pretty Boy, and Money. Who wins between Pretty Boy and Money?
Money Mayweather kills Pretty Boy Floyd. Wait a minute. No, Pretty Boy Floyd kills Money Mayweather.
Okay.
Yeah,
knocks him out. Yeah.
All right.
Pretty Boy, he would get in there and bang, and he was knocking people out.
This is for all three of us. Kivion from Michigan. Do you think greats like Marciano and Frazier could do well against the big heavyweights today like Wilder, Fury, and Joshua? Luther, you go first.
Listen, these guys today are super heavyweights, 300 pounds, 250, solid muscle, 6'5", but those guys are great. They would definitely be competitive, but they'd be giving up a lot of weight. I'd like to see it happen. They'd be competitive. I don't know if they'd beat all of them, but it wouldn't be a washout. I'd give them chances against anybody. Those guys just had heart, power, and had skills. And they went to the body. They did it all.
They would definitely go to the body.
A lot of these heavyweights don't go to the body, don't use all the different techniques. Those guys were technicians, so yes, they would definitely have a chance.
Marciano and Frazier would have definitely gone to the body against these big boys, and they'd have hurt them. Jim?
I'm glad Luther saved me 30 seconds. But hey, just like Joe Louis knocked out two-ton Tony, these guys would have walked right through these soft heavyweights of the day. No problem.
All right. Well, I agree with you, too. I think those guys would have won because they showed more heart, and they were good technicians. They knew how to fight, and they'd go to the body, and they'd threw some mean uppercuts. Well, that's our show for today. We hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed bringing it to you. Thank you for tuning into the Boxing Authorities. Check us out again next time.